Here. Bauer. Here. Klein.
Here.
Green.
Here.
Palmer.
Here.
Here. Sorry.
Here. All right, as a courtesy to the members of the audience and the Board of Education, please silence your cell phone. Just a side note, I just wanted to thank you all for being here this evening, and it shows much of your commitment to Grandville schools. Whatever people say, we are one school district, and it's an amazing school district. And I had the opportunity to attend the National Honor Society induction ceremony, so I want to congratulate many of the parents that are here this evening. I saw you in the audience, and it is something that your kids are doing good work, and they're good kids. And the bargain class, I want to congratulate you and your daughter as the homecoming queen. It's quite an honor. What you say?
I didn't quite hear.
That's pretty good for the worst of humanity, as we were called by a teacher.
Well, anyway, it's just a good thing. Anyway, it's a good thing. So lots of good happening. That's always needs to be pointed out. So if I could, any person wishing to address the board may speak at this time. And a person wishing to address the board should complete and submit a public comment form to the board president immediately prior to the beginning of the meeting. Public comment forms are available at each board meeting, and presentations are limited to 5 minutes. Again, a side note is that if we begin to see that there is lack of public decorum, these are the rules and the regulations, the policy this evening, then we may have to recess or adjourn the meeting. We're in a small room this evening, and so jeering and making side comments under your breath while people are up or sitting down, if we could just respect people that are at the microphone at all time. And it takes a lot to get up there to be able to participate in public comment. I will be keeping time, and at 1 minute left, I will remind you that you have 1 minute left, and then I will be stopping you at 5 minutes. I think that's good, and we will start. Carol Bronson. Hi, Carol.
I didn't expect to be up here.
Well, first of all, I want to say that I'm a resident of Grandville. I have 3 boys that went through the Grandville school system. 2 of them are scientists. They're one's a rocket scientist, believe it or not. He works for an aerospace company. The other is a mechanical engineer. I just want to also say that it takes a village. And I have volunteered at the schools in the past and read to students for the public library. I am very child oriented. I care for all children. I was at one board meeting not too long ago. It wasn't the last one, it was the one before that. And I was just amazed at how the vitriol coming from some members of the audience were totally out of control. And I didn't understand it because I never knew that people were like that, really. I mean, I might be naive, I don't know, but I've been around a lot of people in my life. I'm pretty old and I've done lots of things, but it was just unbelievable to me. So I'm glad to see that you have some things in place now if things get out of control, because it needs to be stopped. You know, people need to listen to all sides of the story. Sorry, I'm a little nervous. Children rise to our expectations. I have a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old grandchildren. They don't go to Grandville, they go to another district, but they both wear masks. They don't complain about the masks because they rise to our expectations. We tell them they need to. And it's for the good of all children that they wear these. And they don't complain. It's like if you believe that education is important, your children will believe that education is important. And that's what I always taught my children. Another point I wanted to make is that losing a child is a nightmare. I lost a child several years ago. Not from a disease, it was an accident, car accident, but it's a nightmare to lose a child, and nobody should think that it's not. And to put our children at risk, you are risking that happening. One last thing, I was reading about the San Francisco public schools and the success that they're having with their students. 90% of all 12 through 17-year-old children are vaccinated. Their district requires masks. They have had very few incidences of COVID since school began. And I think that's a wonderful success. The only situations where children were catching the virus was from unvaccinated adults that passed it on to their children. Excuse me. I'm sorry.
We have a speaker right now. We have a speaker. Go ahead, Carol.
That's what I mean by rudeness and vitriol. I just want to thank the board for all of your work, and I want to commend you for standing up for all the children in the district.
Thank you. All right, so we have Michelle Thomas and Brenda Bargenquast on deck. If you could state your name, address, thank you.
Michelle Thomas. I have 2 children in the district. My address is on file. I'm not going to talk about masks. I think the board knows me enough to know where I stand on masks, so I'm not going to get into that. I do want to comment on the last meeting. Of course, I was there. I want to comment on the division that I saw being furthered. It appeared red codes, not red codes, maskers, not maskers, even among the board. I feel like with the comments, everything led to division. There was nothing about unity. And for part of the group to stand up here and act like they represent all educators, I can tell you I don't represent all parents. My views are different. So for certain members of the audience to stand up and present as if they represent all educators in our district, they do not. I can tell you that because I get staff members that contact me personally saying they don't feel comfortable speaking up or speaking out. And would I please represent them at these board meetings? So I think you all should be a little bit concerned. These aren't even teachers or educators that I know on a friendship or a personal level. But they are contacting me because they know me through subbing or having my children in the district. They know I talk at these meetings. They're contacting me saying, please help us voice our opinions, because they don't feel comfortable doing it to their union reps or standing at this meeting and doing that. And I think that's a problem. That's my comment on the meeting. What I really wanted to talk about were the social and emotional learning coaches. I don't know much about it, so I guess I'm going to tell you what I've researched and what I think it's about. And what I would love is for somebody to contact me and maybe correct me where I'm wrong or give me the answers to some of the questions I'm going to present. I don't think most parents know that social and emotional learning coaches have been in our school and been present for 3 years. They teach a minimum of 1 lesson per month, and the monthly topic is established, but from what I understand, each learning coach writes their own lessons and their own curriculum. The Grandville has not purchased a curriculum for the social and emotional coaches, so that there's not consistency between school and there's not transparency. I, as a parent, can't get that curriculum, so I don't know what SEL really entails, and yet it's been happening in our school for several years. I'm not saying I'm against SEL at all. I'm just saying that I don't think parents know anything about it. I know I consider myself to be pretty involved in the school, and I don't know what's going on with SEL coaches. I'd love to know, what are the qualifications for SEL coaches? Do they have to have a social work degree? Do they have a psychology degree? What type of qualifications do they have? What training do they undergo to be these social and emotional learning coaches for our children? Is it mandatory that they attend it? Is there an approved curriculum? Because it's my understanding that there's not. If there's not an approved curriculum, is there some type of committee that's going to be formed to help select that curriculum? Would there be parents that are able to be on that board? And then I also understand that there are emotional assessments done on our children 3 times a year, and the teachers are asked to submit these. And these evaluations go to our head psychologist. What happens to that data? I've never been contacted. Parents find out if there's an issue. Let's say a teacher says this child has anxiety or depressive symptoms that they're noticing. That gets reported to that school psychologist, but are parents getting notified with that? Let's say, and this is probably extreme, let's say my child graduates and he wants to go to West Point or Annapolis, and they do pretty thorough backgrounds. Are they gonna get that file that says, oh, wait, your son, somebody flagged him for anxiety or depression in the 4th grade? Like, what is being done with that information that's being collected? Do parents have access to that? And then I guess my understanding, we follow the Castle version of social and emotional learning. So the information that I got that I believe is my opinion of what's going on was taken from castle.org. So I would love to get a follow-up with information on what's happening with social and emotional learning coaches. Thank you.
Thank you. And Carol Phelps.
I'm sorry for not accepting your compliment. Thank you. I'm very proud of my daughter.
You should be.
But that's where most of my comments today are about, the vitriol of the people. It's really funny because the people calling on the other side vitriol are the ones with the vitriol. And I just want to go through one by one. You guys do these updates each week. Oh, what I went out and about and I did this, I talked to this, and I just want you to know how ridiculous your comments sound to people who really know what's going on. Mrs. Klein, you commented about how the robo-dogs, and that's a really united group, and they really have unity. Have you met Beth Pepper? Do you know that on September 8th, he sent a letter that if you're not vaccinated, you can't participate in the program? And then magically 2 days later, some regulation changed, and now the kids could stay involved. Well, no regulation change. He got a call from Mr. Barrett. And his lack of respect for parents, his lack of respect for the administration, the district, of taxpayers. And when he is going to be in charge of a dedicated building for his program, that's total horse puppy. And he needs to be removed. Mr. Hyborg, it was so great. 4 kids from our school went to the Junior Olympics. What a great opportunity. You know that any sort of qualification to qualify to go to the Junior Olympics? Is that sounds like really elite, like that you gotta have a skill to go there? Nothing. 2 of the 4 girls that went weren't even qualified for our varsity team. And I know the coach is really enthusiastic and he wants to build the program. And every opportunity he provides for our children, he benefits from financially because parents pay him for it. Can you say conflict of interest? Mrs. Palmer, you trust the health department because you know those people and science. Adam London's PhD is in, I don't know, community organizing or something, certainly not medicine. And he is most definitely not a virologist. Isn't it also your personal goal to eliminate the terms he, him, his, she, her, hers? It is science. It actually is science that every human being on this planet is either a male or a female. No matter what you do, you mutilate your body or you take hormones. Every cell in your body is XX or XY. That's science. So if you deny one science, but you promote another science, you kind of lose your credibility and you really have no business making decisions affecting children. Mr. Barrett, I've defended you. I've believed in you more and longer than many of the parents here tonight that have the same views as me. But when I got a response from you about a video I sent showing that SEL and CRT are subverted and how they're subverted, and you replied to me,
that that's a conspiracy theory. You lost a supporter. How can I prove it? Let's say video cameras in every classroom. Yes, please. You can provide handouts. You say you're transparent by providing the curriculum, the handouts. Well, that doesn't include what the teacher says. You can have handouts up the wazoo. It doesn't matter if what the teacher says is contradictory to what the paper says, or anyway. So these union members, there's a few here tonight too that showed up at the last meeting, which I was not at. I was battling a case of vertigo. You know, I find it interesting that there were no elementary teachers here thanking you for the masks. That's kind of interesting, isn't it? The hand, foot, and mouth disease going around the classrooms, the children that eat their masks, you know, it's all fun and games. I can't believe the audacity to say how terrible we conservative parents are while calling us names and saying we are divisive. They're the ones calling us names while demanding their way and calling for unity.
1 minute.
Please. We don't call names and we don't demand that you do what we say. We're requesting that we have the right to do as we see fit. You can wear a mask and get unlimited jabs, get 45. That's your right. But your right don't supersede our rights. Nowhere in the Bible does it say you must violate your own conscience to love your neighbor. The activists that did come to blow sunshine up your behinds last meeting, calling us names, thanking you for masks, who they themselves don't wear masks themselves to Coast Guard Festival or the MSU game. And even the dad that was at the meeting before last requesting that you have a mask mandate because he wears his mask for you. I care about you. Guess what? 2 days later at the swim meet, no mask. The hypocrisy is astounding. And Mr. Missouri expressed concern for morale in the district. Well, how about the morale of conservative teachers being bullied in the teacher's lounge? I'd be willing to bet that for 10 buildings, there are 10 hostile work environments, of which every building principal is aware, many of whom condone and encourage the hostile work environment. The teachers that aren't woke have been beaten down for years by the bullies, calling everybody else bullies, just like in politics. The ones pointing at everyone else for doing what they are doing themselves. If you don't
5 minutes. That's it. Thanks, Brenda. Carol Phelps and Adam Bush on deck.
Helps them for Plainfield Township. So after watching the film Agenda, my eyes were opened to the evil that is hidden behind the scenes in our schools and our government. This film proves that we are being transformed into a social society where a handful of elites have everything and everyone else at the bottom has nothing. Everyone else being you, the school board, and us here in this audience. CRT, masks, vaccines, and the fear and division it's causing is just part of the plan. Our Constitution was founded on the Bible, and our government has slowly pushed biblical values out, so we will honor our government rather than our God. If you don't believe me, here are just a few of our government's goals mentioned in this film. Number 1, eliminate prayer in the schools on the grounds that it violates the principle of separation of church and state. Number 2, discredit the family as an institution. Encourage promiscuity and easy divorce. Number 3, get control of the schools. Use them as transmission belts for socialism. Soften the curriculum. Get control of teacher associations. Number 4, eliminate all laws governing obscenity by calling them censorship and a violation of free speech and free press. 5, break down cultural standards of morality by promoting pornography in books, magazines, motion pictures, and TV. 6, present homosexuality, degeneracy, and promiscuity as normal, natural, and healthy. 7, infiltrate the press, gain control of key positions in radio, TV, and motion pictures. And 8, infiltrate the churches and replace revealed religion with social religion. Discredit the Bible. School board, I ask you, is this what you want for your children and grandchildren? We should all be on one side, fighting together to keep our freedoms. Please help us fight this battle. For the rest of my time, I would like to pray with everybody here. Heavenly Father, we come to you tonight with concerns for our children, our schools, and our country. We thank you for our founding fathers who built this nation on your word. We thank you for your many blessings that have resulted because of this. We ask that you protect our children from the evil that is being pushed upon them through mandates and the teaching of CRT in our schools. We ask that you guide the teachers here and around our country to do what's best for the children in their care. Give them courage to stand up for what is good and right, rather than giving into evil ideologies and agendas. Lord, we ask you to protect the families here as they fight for their children and their children's education. We pray for courage and strength as we come upon the many issues facing our country today. We pray that your Holy Spirit will come upon us all and open our hearts to accept the love offered by your Son, Jesus. Open the eyes and ears of those who do not fully understand what is happening in our country and our freedoms. Show them the truth of your word and expose the evil that is happening in our schools, our country's leadership, and around the world. I pray for honesty and humility to come upon this school board here tonight. Give them wisdom and discernment as they make decisions that will affect all the children and families in this school district. Show them the truth and soften their hearts to do the right thing. Lord, I ask for your forgiveness for our beautiful country. Forgive us for turning from you and going in our own directions. Forgive us for not doing enough to prevent the evil that has flourished in our country over the last several years. God, grant us your mercy and bring our nation back to where it started, with your word being our guide in all we do. This I pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Janine Jansma on deck.
My name is Adam Bush, longtime resident of Grandville, frequent maker of public comments. And it's unclear to me how effective these public comments are. Sometimes they seem to fall on deaf ears, especially on anything related to CRT or COVID restrictions. Nearly always, there's no interaction. I'll circle back to you on that, no dialogue. We say our piece, you go about your business, and then we all leave. It's a bit frustrating at times because many of us are seeking answers or some sort of response. Now, I understand that you follow the Robert's rules for your meetings. I'm sure that works great for your typical meetings where there's no one else in attendance. But there's been a few hot button issues lately, and a lot of concerned parents, as well as some redcoats, starting to show up at these events. Some get up here to speak, some may just want to vent, some are here looking for answers, maybe some dialogue. But your meeting format does not allow for that sort of exchange. I know that Roger will often stay and speak to attendees after meetings, and that is greatly appreciated. It's a good use of our time together since we are already here. But it's usually just one person at a time. Some people are left waiting and sometimes leave if they have to wait too long. So I would like to propose that you add some sort of informal roundtable discussion to the end of each meeting where anyone who wants to can stay and actually talk and have real conversations with Roger and or any willing board members. With, of course, the intent of these being civil conversations, not verbal beatdowns. I know there has to be some common ground here somewhere with all these issues, but it's hard to find that when we're all traveling down one-way streets and not allowed to stop and chit chat. So board, can you make this an action item for next time? Brainstorm, see what you come up with. I think that would add value to these meetings. All right, next topic. So at the last meeting, there were a whole bunch of compliments and attaboys from the board to the redcoats about how wonderful they are. Indeed, Grandville does have some fabulous teachers. I'm not sure if any of them were at that last meeting though, at least judging by the characters of the ones I saw in the audience. Because what I witnessed was a whole bunch of snickering, eye-rolling, jeering, cuckoo, and heckling whenever anyone spoke with a different viewpoint. And that's who's teaching our kids. More than one redcoat commented on the unruly behavior and called for stricter enforcement of Robert's rules. These redcoats, teachers of our children, described us parents as appalling, lunatics, paranoid. They don't support freedom of speech, freedom of choice, not unless it's their speech, their choice. In fact, the common theme I heard throughout the night from the redcoats was fall in line. Do not question authority. Do not think for yourself. Do not have your own opinion. Do not show emotion. And we must stamp out any discourse. I don't know what that sounds like to you, but it sure doesn't sound very American to me. Once again, that's who's teaching our kids. All right, now on to mask mandates. It wouldn't be me if I didn't touch on that at least a bit. So last time, we had a handful of redcoats and even a couple of board members who argued that we must support the public health order and mask our pre-K through 6th grade students and staff. Kent County Health is the authority, they proclaimed. They are the medical experts. We're just a lowly school district. We cannot possibly second guess their decision. But what the board and these redcoats keep failing to acknowledge is that Kent County Health did not intend to issue a public health order at all. It wasn't until our non-medically trained superintendents requested this godforsaken thing. For political reasons or monetary gain, I'm not sure, but their justification was based purely on flawed and cherry-picked observational data. How are you all still not getting this? And Roger and some of you board members keep blaming the health department. And the redcoats keep giving props to the school board for relying on the experts in the health department. The experts didn't want this. The superintendents wanted this. I've said this repeatedly for weeks, so have others. And that is why many of us feel you don't listen, and why some of you have lost our trust. Do you even open your minds to the possibility that any of our ridiculous claims are valid? Do you ever do your own research, or do you only get your information from CNN, CDC, and Tony Fauci? Fauci wants to cancel Christmas again. Are you gonna go along with that too?
1 minute.
Have you even read any of the FOIA emails? Do you not have any cause for concern about how this all went down with the Kent County order? Roger, I asked you at the last meeting, did you or did you not support this mandate request? Or did you oppose it? Tell us. On top of all this, as of last Thursday, all these local health department mandates are completely illegal. It is literally against the law for local health departments to issue any orders that require anyone under 18 to wear a face covering. It'll be very interesting to see who gets sued first. The health departments who refuse to rescind our unlawful orders, or the school districts who continue to follow them.
Chancellor, and on deck, Carol Vick.
Children in the Grandville school system. Going on 2 years now, the governor and the health department have been issuing orders requiring students to mask up under the guise of the following terms: mandatory, which is not a law; required, which is not a law; mandated, which is not a law; requested, which is not a law; ordered, which is not a law; ordinance, which is not a law; decree, which is not a law; compulsory, which is not a law. Yet our Michigan legislator and the governor signed Senate Bill 82, which in section 1222, part 4 states, any health department that has issued an emergency order under MCL 333.2453 in an attempt to combat COVID-19 will lose funding for essential local public health services. This law became effective October 1st. So if the school board does not remove the mask mandates and follows instead orders from the Kent County Health Department that are now in disregard of the law, you will be, of your own free will, breaking the law. Law and order will be returned in our great nation. The abuses of power we have witnessed has been an appalling demonstration of what happens when the few seek to have power over the many. Do the right thing. Remove the mask mandates. Follow the law for the love of yourself, the children, God, and our country.
Julie Dole, you're on deck. We got Carol Vick.
Hi, my name is Carol BK. I come from Grandville Township. I just talked to a grandson of mine at Hudsonville from Hudsonville schools, and he told me that they're no longer able to mention AD and BC in dating things, which they say things are millions of years old because it has a reference to Christ. So I know school boards act as though they can't or won't do anything about the wicked, perverse agenda promoted through the present curriculum. I beg you here to obtain information, examples such as Erwin Lutzer's book, When a Nation Forgets God, 7 Lessons We Must Learn from Nazi Germany. Recognize history is repeating itself. We're losing our country through socialism or the end game of communism. And you've heard this. With this being said, I now say this prayer. God in heaven, I pray that you will be, that by your hand, remove any member here that supports in any way this evil, deceitful curriculum that promotes a twisted history of the United States, division based on skin color and sexual perversion of any kind.
Remove them, Lord, and replace each one with a man or woman who is spiritually and morally upright, standing for truth, decency, integrity, who respects our nation and those who died to keep it free. I pray all eyes will be open, the veil lifted, and your truth will shine through this present darkness covering our land and the whole world, deceiving so many. I pray this in Jesus' name, amen. As 2 Chronicles 7:14 says, if my people who are called by my name humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and heal their land. And I pray that you take this seriously because you are backing an evil agenda. And I think if you don't know this, I pray to God that your eyes are opened, because I have 4 grandsons. I have one that did voice the fact that he would like to commit suicide, and that was through the lockdowns. And I have one who has breathing problems and a lot of anxiety, and he was threatened by a male teacher at his school because he wouldn't pull his mask up. Teachers aren't here to threaten kids, are they? I mean, would you agree with that? And I'm appealing as a grandmother and as a Christian, and I'm not ashamed to say that, that you look into what you're supporting, because honestly, these parents, your taxpayers, deserve to know what's going on with their kids. You don't own their kids. The state doesn't own their kids. But as I understand it from Washington, there's a member of Congress that said that parents have no right to demand what teachers teach their kids. That is totally evil and wrong. And I'm here to tell you that you guys, if you support this agenda, God will find justice in that decision with you. And I'm a God-fearing grandma, and I know that a lot of people here are, and I pray that you all examine your hearts and minds over what you're supporting. If you are supporting this, they have a right to know what their kids are being taught. There should be transparency, and you should be able to answer questions without emails and getting back to you later. Why can't these be opened up for answers from you guys? You hear from us, but we never hear from you, hardly ever. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
I'm Doc Tessa Jansma.
Good evening. My name is Julie Dahl. My address is on file. A couple things. I want to talk about first masks. Why are we still doing this? You no longer have to do this. You no longer need to hide behind the health department. You can make your own decision on this, and we are asking you to do that, to give us back a parent choice. We have supported you over and over and over again through the years. We're asking you to support us. If people want to mask their kids, if they feel safer with double masking their kids, then that's your choice. We as parents are asking you to let us make the decision for our children. It is now law that you have that ability. So please stand up and support the parents and the students in this school district. Please, you can do it. Okay? Now, let's talk about the last meeting too. It was pretty divisive. It was just pretty disgusting, actually. I find so many things ironic about that last meeting. I find it so ironic that it takes working up of a union school teacher member and the head of the Grandville Education Association sending out emails to rally the parents or the teachers to come get involved. I find it ironic that they're the only ones really holding on to the mask mandate. The majority of the parents aren't, especially the elementary school parents are not. I find it ironic that it goes out to hundreds, however many teachers, administrative, all of them, and we maybe had, what, 60, 80, generously, people show up, supporting that solidarity in red. To someone's point earlier, I have teachers, administrative people contacting me regularly saying, please keep standing up. Please, we are scared of the repercussions if we stand up. Please do this. Because of people who, in their solidarity, will say that they're wrong. I find it ironic as well that you took the time to show us or talk to us or give us some personal insight as to who you are, what you stand for, when you feel like you have the solidarity of some other teachers.
That's great. I love getting to know you more. I would love for you to get to know us more. But I find it so ironic that you chose that time to do that. We are not full of vitriol. We are not abusive. We are not threatening. We are standing up for our kids and we are passionate about it. I'm an unapologetic Christian. I'm an unapologetic American. I'm an unapologetic parent, wife, small business owner, entrepreneur. I will continue to stand up for what is right. I will continue to push back as hard as I need to make sure we stand up for what's right. What I heard a lot of you say about personal stuff last week is great, but I heard a lot about your government, lifelong government employees. Unions, you answer to the unions, you answer to the government. The majority of us don't. We want our choice back for our children. We don't answer to that. We're not perpetuating this COVID thing. It's done in so many sectors of the world, in so many sectors of our country. 83 counties in our state, only 4 are still mandating masks. What are you guys doing?
1 minute.
Stand up. It is political. It is 100% political. Now, last meeting as well, we had 2 great comments from board members, which were completely disregarded by other board members. Let's take a survey. Incredibly insightful. Could it be you don't want to do that because you know that the vast majority of parents don't want to mask their kids? Okay. Also, let's have community. Let's take that community at a community level. A great resolution. Nothing from anybody. You guys didn't even recognize that. The complete disdain and disrespect and incompetence on this board continues to grow. And that's why I will continue. I will show up, but I don't know how much longer I'm going to speak because what's it doing? But I can tell you what I will do is I will get behind a recall effort. I will get 100% behind a recall effort to make sure that we have people who care about the kids, who listen to the parents and not the unions.
5 minutes. Thank you. Shannon Fast.
Jasma. All right, so don't forget, I see my brother outside there. So he was contacted by the Grandville police last Friday, and we do still have some amazing police officers. They informed him that it was going to be pretty much a theater show, and the last board meeting, if he were to show up to the last board meeting, that they were gonna drag him out. That's interesting. I mean, seeing that we've been doing theater, it makes sense. But yeah, that's the thing. So at the last meeting we had, I like the word red coats, that works. I was standing waiting for my mom to use the bathroom, and I'm watching this huge group of redcoats walk in, and one of the guys says, I don't want to put this shit on, but I will. A mask, right? Because this is theater. Because most of these people don't wear masks outside of these type of things. So, with that, I also got a call on Friday from the high school nurse, and she wanted to inform me that my son was deemed a close contact, right? And so I asked her when this was from, and this was Friday, she called me, and she said he was a close contact from Monday. So are we quarantining the whole football team? Like, we just had a game the night before, and we've been at practice all week. Like, so what good is this doing? But then she informed me that, the option that I had was he could either A, stay at home and do the quarantine until October 8th, do his work online, or B, he could stay at school and monitor symptoms. Why did you call me? Or C, I could go get him a test and come, show it's negative, which that's not gonna happen. But she also said that if he was fully vaccinated, that he wouldn't have to quarantine, right? Which is very interesting to me. Because I've gone on the CDC website and gone through a lot of their, because this is where we're going from, right? CDC is where we're listening to. It specifically says people who get vaccine breakthrough infections can be contagious. So why do the kids that have the vax, why don't they have to quarantine? That doesn't make sense. What does make sense is that that's a coercion for these children to get the vaccine, so they don't have to deal with all of this. Oh, you can't do this, you can't do that. You know, if you're vaxxed, you could still stay, no mask, no quarantine, yet they can still spread it. Again, nothing about any of this makes any sense. Like, I thought we were following the science, like, getting a little ridiculous now. Another thing about that last board meeting, you know, we had that woman who came up and, you know, just completely spit on our God. And, you know, she almost in the same sentence demanded that we, you know, accept her for being a lesbian. And it's like, why are we talking about that at board meetings? Like, was she even from this district? Like, that should never be part of the board meeting. Like, these board meetings are for the parents and the community. And we got it looking like a staff meeting in here. Like, if you guys want a staff meeting, they can all come to a staff meeting, but these meetings here are for the community and the parents, so you guys can hear us and our concerns. I hear a lot of the kids that don't complain about the masks. They're being programmed. They're being programmed to not complain. Like, they have 99.8% chance of survival. What are we doing? Like, what are we doing? What are we waiting for a vaccine? Like, cause like, has anybody looked on bears? Has any of you guys looked on bears and seen
1 minute.
the adverse reactions that this vaccine is causing? And all the tens of thousands of deaths that this vaccine has caused? Like, it's disgusting. And I really hope and pray that, Roger, you don't bring on this mandate because you haven't seen nothing yet. That's not a threat. It's not. I'm saying this is ridiculous. Like, I feel like you're trying to kill my kid. Yeah. If you're gonna try and force a vaccine, I feel like you're threatening my child. As you are with the masks and their education. These younger kids, they need to see. They need to be able to see, you know, feelings and emotions. They can't. Do you know how I feel right now? Like, you can't see my emotions. You can only see my eyes. It's ridiculous. And, you know, like everybody said before, this is illegal now. You guys don't have the law on your side anymore.
5 minutes. Thank you, Tessa. And Lynn Jansen.
I'm Shannon Class, my address and phone number on file. I wanted to talk a little bit about the last meeting, like some of the other parents, because again, I was involved, like a lot of the other parents. What I didn't put a speech together, what I did is I took notes and what I wanted to address here at the board. One person who got up said, seek the truth. I agree, let's seek the truth, the unbiased truth. Don't make this politically motivated. I have supplied you guys with a lot of different studies to show you what this is doing. Kendra Kopesh complained about the morale being low of the teachers. I agree. The morale's low of everything. It's not just the teachers. But what I challenged her to do is how about having some dialogue with us? If she wants this to stop, if the other teachers want this to stop, talk to us. Someone mentioned that they were doing observational studies showing that this is working. The masks are working. Observational studies are not good studies. They are not randomized control trial studies. I showed you, I gave you copies of randomized control studies and what it's doing. They spoke about keeping sick, or even tonight spoke about keeping the kids safe. Yeah, we didn't do that a couple years ago because the flu is deadlier than COVID to these kids, especially the kids who are in garden groups. Frank talked about getting behind the science. Science is the act of questioning. It's not absolute. And I provided, again, studies to show you that there's studies proving that what the other side is saying. This is good. Love her dearly. I agree with her. She fosters an absolute safe place. Both of my kids have her. She's a fantastic teacher. But other teachers don't. And what she did was admit that she has not been to one of these meetings and stood up here and parroted what was sent to her, what was she was supposed to say. This was done by Mr. Missouri. He's nothing but a schoolyard bully, spreading rumors and getting teachers pulled in unknowingly. We've had some passionate people speak, now banned. But the majority have always remained respectful. Having Mrs. Good parrot that and admitting she's never been to one of these meetings, it really takes her down. She shouldn't be following somebody, especially a schoolyard bully. The lady talked about wearing masks to protect the at-risk, but if they worked, then why did we just see what was school go to whatever it was? You don't have to wear masks there because they're doing this for fear. So we've got our kids 6 feet apart wearing masks, but we've got all these stars in this show hugging and kissing on each other because they want it. Kids can't go to school without masks. The level, someone mentioned the level of lunacy. It's mind-blowing, absolutely mind-blowing. Because if you look back 6 months, what we're dealing with now, they call people conspiracy theorists. That's not going to happen. We're not going to mandate shots. We're not going to mandate this. No deal. For the teachers, I challenge you to pick out any of us that hasn't been supportive of you, talked to you, helped you with something at school when you need it. So now that you think we are the bad guys, let's get out one thing crystal clear. These are our children. Your job is not to make decisions for us, for them. We make the decisions for our kids. You teach them a set approved curriculum of reading, math, science, etc. And if you don't like us being in charge, you might want to move on because we're not going anywhere.
And then Kim Bork.
My name is Lynn Jansen. I live at 109 Stonehenge. I've spoken at a couple of these meetings before. We were distributed the laws that out of London used to justify the vax mandate. It took me a little while to do it, to get into these, because when a government official tells you the law says something, you tend to believe it. I brought some extra copies. Look at the law. It doesn't tell him he has this authority. It doesn't even come close. What he has the authority to do is to remove asbestos from the school. He can shut down a school for that. He can clean up a meth house. This law gives him the ability to do that. It does not give him the ability to put masks on our kids. It never did, and it doesn't come close. I understand that we've got a couple of legal opinions that tell us, yeah, the law could be read that way. Here's the thing about lawyers. You pay them by the hour. They will charge you for the hour. You get the result that you ask for. Mr. Parra, I think you're asking for this result. I think you asked for it from the health department. And if it's not true, a lot of us parents would like to hear you deny that. Like to piggyback on what Mr. Bush said, this has become toxic. You can't have a dialogue. We preach back and forth at each other. It's not a healthy way to have a community. I encourage the board to think of a better way. We don't have to interrupt these meetings. We can still have our annual or 2-week meetings and still yell at each other. But I think if we had another forum where we could have a conversation, the entire community would benefit from that. It was asked, what a good way to figure out what people want for their kids. Would a survey be appropriate? I don't think one's necessary. It could be done. I think you go to a football game, look up in the stands. I went to one a couple of weeks ago, and I don't think I saw anybody wearing masks. Now I get it outside, but we're packed in there pretty good. Finally, there is a survey being done. I am going to be seeing a couple of you in a couple of days at 12:15 at the county building on Wednesday. We are having the, I think it's called Truth and Clarity hearing on the recall petitions for 3 of the board members. I'd like a couple of parents to come with us. I know we've got some commitments from Mrs. Dahl, a couple of other parents, but It'd be great to see more of you there. Thank you.
Chris Warren is next.
Deep breath again. My name's Kimber, my number and address are on file, I spoke before. Kind of had a sentiment of a lot of the parents that have already spoke up here. We find ourselves yet again, putting our children in the middle. We've all heard that the state law was signed, that there are just a few counties refusing to obey that law and stating that it's unconstitutional. Well, that is for the courts to determine, but as of October 1st, it is law. I agree with what's been asked of you guys. I asked this board and administration to not just go along with it. We agree. We've seen the FOIA. We know the superintendent's asked for it from Kent County. Let's ask for them to stop. Can't the same group of superintendents get back together again? I read today on a county commissioner's Facebook page that our county stands to lose $21 million by not following this law. We have the second topic. We also have, like they mentioned, the head of the teachers union calling parents names, saying that I won't say the repeat, but they stopped because that's unfortunate that they took it there. But we do want to work with you, and we want this to be. I agree that it'd be great to have maybe a face-to-face. I volunteer at a nonprofit community, and that's something that we do. We have board meetings, but we also have what they call a face-to-face meeting. And that actually allows for interaction. It allows for answers and questions to be asked at the same time. Maybe something like that could be considered. I'm still not confident why the state didn't have to abide by the law of the 1307B, which I asked at the Kent County Commissioners meeting as well, stating that it's illegal to restrict our children from reading. We have board members on the NCC stating it's child abuse. Again, you've all heard this. I agree. Let's stand up. Let's do a resolution. Can you please contact your own, the school's attorney to find out what position does this put you in as a school board, as administration? Let's dig a little deeper. You've heard it so many times from us parents. I just wanted to give a little bit of a history lesson. In 1952, there was a Supreme Court ruling on communist teachers. A 6-3 decision that upheld, this is a New York state law, prohibiting communists from teaching in public schools. They talked about the Red Scare of the United States. They had determined it was illegal for teachers to teach certain things to impressionable minds. I think that we're crossing that line again, and we're asking, that talks about the DEI, the SEI, or SEO. You've got to start listening to the parents and what we're accepting for our children. Let's stick to the educational teachings and leave the beliefs of personal beliefs of our teachers, of our board and administration out of it. Thank you for your time.
Chris. And then Emily, Tori.
Chris Warren, my address is on file. I'm gonna talk a little bit about the future and the next 3 months, and when people look back at some of this stuff, it will seem genius, but this is not for me, it's just from 2,000 hours of research. This is what I do, all my extra time, I just research everything because I'm a free thinker, so. Think of knowing of the future, just like the Simpsons TV show. How they always know the future. The side note, the creator is a Freemason and a globalist and shapes the future. How does he do this stuff? Because he shapes the future. We're going back to the morals of the 50s and the rule of law. That's what we're going to go back to. That's what the future is going to be. What happened to when the kids would get in trouble chewing gum in school? 50s, running to class. Think of back when Myers, when I was in the 80s, Myers wasn't open on Sundays. It was the biggest thing ever when they opened on Sundays. Like, holy cow, how are they doing this stuff? look at the dress code changes. In the 80s, they would never use the word damn in sitcoms. But where are the changes that have happened? What have we seen in recent decades? We've seen school shootings, which are false flags with paid actors that have set up by the FBI to take our guns, okay? Just wait. Even in Grandville, we had a big heroin problem in the past decade. Suicide in the parking lot, oral sex underneath the stairway. I couldn't even research Grandville schools for the longest time without seeing Allie Lyons with something in her, you know, what we're talking about for years, okay? Bullying has moved from being against a gay person to that if you're not gay, you get bullied, because my daughters had that and they graduated from high school, that you're forced to have experimented in bisexual and things like that. Look up Color Revolution. They almost took over without a shot, okay? So what are we gonna see by the end of 2021? Most of all the politicians will be arrested. The federal government will be 10% of the size. Illegal federal income taxes that have happened will be removed. Local controls will go back to the counties. God will be in school. We'll be honoring the flag. And it'll be a removal of this yellow flag. If anyone wants to look the research on that, which I've had hours on, with the yellow around it's a corporation. That's not the flag. So if you want to ever look into that. Rewriting of what real history is. Bankers run the wars for both sides so they can make money. I mean, did we really go to Iraq for no reason? Which there's five places that the world banks didn't own, which is Syria, Iran, North Korea, Iran, Iraq. I mean, it all comes down to money, guys. So we'll also be not having this division based on race will be gone. The forced transgender talk will be gone. The Satanist god is Moloch, which is a transgender and a pedophile. I mean, this is no joke. This is the future I'm talking about, because Jesus is going to come back in our hearts and minds, and we're going to have 1,000 years of peace. The problem being is some of the people that are on the wrong side of things, the Nuremberg trials 2.0 will happen along with all the evil acts. So people have to take a side. So the end will not be for everybody. You have to pick a side. And anybody that's the naysayer on this biggest, craziest person in the world, if you watch the news, something's off. It's off. So that's when I started digging. When the bioweapon came in here in April of 20, I started digging. I put it into Google, didn't get one thing on a bioweapon. Not even one in Google. You would think it was something. Put in DuckDuckGo, just blew up. Just blew up. So it's just like you can sit back and listen to what makes your news, which is paid by everyone else. So they're all going away for the next 3 months. So thank you for your time.
Thanks, sir. And then Lois Hipple. Hi, Emily.
So my name is Emily Tori and I'm an 8th grade middle school student. It's funny how many adults and students have power over me. Not one of you have asked the kids what we think. Maybe it's because we're kids, maybe it's because you won't like what we have to hear. Either way, we are watching, we are learning, and we will eventually be where you all are now. Communication is key, and I feel as though the board has had a hard time communicating with the Grandville students. I would like to touch on the sports mask mandate and COVID testing. I played many sports last year as COVID allowed. Now, as a female basketball student was nearing up last year, we were forced to wear a mask. When you're running, jumping around, and screaming for a ball, it gets very, very hard to breathe. I would get yelled at for taking a breath as I just get off the court. There's no reason why a young athlete like myself should have to get yelled at for breathing. Now, also, I ran track and field last year. As we got COVID tested every Monday morning at 7:30 a.m. Now, as a 12 to 14-year-old student, getting COVID tested is not something any child wants to do. Now, don't get me wrong, I am very, very glad I got to even play sports this and last year. Thank you for listening to someone who has had and has to deal with the pain of mask mandate and COVID testing. On another note, I want to talk about Grandville Public Schools has had a horrible time with dealing with our link friends. Coming firsthand as I have a 10-year-old little brother who has had the superpower of having ADHD and ODD. He has had to switch schools to Wyoming Regional. He has done so well at that school. Grandville has had a very, very hard time with trying to deal with, quote, deal with his issues, unquote. I would get pulled out of class to control him because The teachers have no clue how to handle him. He is a sweet little boy who means no harm at all. If you treat him as a normal child and not someone who has any differences from me or any of you. I love what Grandville has tried to keep school as normal as possible for this past few years. I'm a proud student of the Be Nice committee at Grandville Middle School, a dog cheerleader, volleyball player, track and field. Thank you for listening to someone who has dealing with Grandville has decided to do with their schools.
And then Rachel Koopmans.
My name is Lois Bickle. I live at 3251 Vermont. I'm a grandmother of 3 children in the school district. My husband and I both graduated from Grandville, went all the way through. Our children did, and now our grandchildren are in Grandville. I've been looking at the statistics of how many children are reported each week coming into the Kent ISD as COVID related. And the first thing is, there was 57 in this last, from 9/28 to 10/2. And it says the cases are both confirmed and probable. So the school associated cases of COVID-19, a confirmed case is a result of a true positive test. But then the probable case is someone may be exposed to it, but they're all reported. So and then you go into the Access Kent and you can go into the hospital. How many people have been admitted to the hospital in the last week? And yes, the numbers are bigger in our hospitals for older people, but you go to Helen DeVos Children's Hospital. And in the last week there were 4, this week there's a 7 total. That's not ICU, they list ICU separately. So some of those 4 could still be in there yet, okay? Then I went into the CDC website and I went through for the whole last year. That age group of our children, kindergarten or pre-kindergarten up to 6th grade, there's less than a 0.01% that have died in that age group of our children. So when you look at the statistics, and it even says that, let me read what the CDC says on this one about children getting it. You know, it says that, what is the risk for our children? And it says they can be infected with the virus that causes COVID-19 and can get sick with COVID-19. Most children with COVID-19 have mild symptoms, or they may have no symptoms at all. So those 57 kids, 4 were from Grandville in this last week in the elementary. This is the time of cold season. I mean, how many people are dealing with that? How many of those symptoms are exactly like COVID-19? Yet you go into the Kent ISD and it's pretty, it tries to lean you towards there's tons of kids that are sick. And there are not that many sick. So when you look at those statistics over those years, over this whole past year, we have less than a 0% chance of our child in this age group. So I'm on the bandwagon with we're trying to shut up our kids and they're trying to teach them to behave and model, not to speak. Thank you.
Rachel Koopmans.
How did you heard?
So I was wondering, when are you guys going to stand up to Kent County? Because the mask, every week, we get an email from Grandville, a student has COVID. A teacher has COVID. You'll be in contact if your kid was close proximity. every week since school started, if the masks work so good, why are we getting all these? I know they don't work. You want to wear the K95 mask, that's the only masks that work. The other masks don't work. If you sneeze, it goes through the mask. If you want kids to get less sick, which I've said this before, you could get with Kent County, have them come in, teach kids even when they're not sick, because I think this got a little confusing last time I spoke. So if people sneeze and cough, even if they do not have a cold, are we supposed to sneeze and cough into our hands and all over the place so that we can touch everything? I can't believe the number of adults that do that. All the time. All the time, sneezing and coughing everywhere. That's how kids get sick. That's how people get sick. This is stupid. If you want to wear your mask, it needs to be optional. All it takes is one school to stand up to that county and do something about it. That's all it takes. And yet you play the political game. So what do we have to do? If tomorrow Kent County said, no mask is required and it's optional, every student almost in that school would not have this. And teachers don't come to you because they don't want to risk losing their job. So if Kent County said, teachers, it's optional, like it was prior to school starting, they wouldn't wear it, but they're not going to stand up because they have to work. That's why they're not saying anything. But there's more teachers opposed to it than you think.
Excellent. We are on the approval. I want to thank everybody again. And we're going to start the meeting for our regular action. I need approval of the agenda. All in favor?
Yes.
Excellent. Consent action, can I have a motion? Could you keep it down? Thank you. We can't hear up here. Okay.
Ma'am, there's somebody out over here. This woman is taking pictures.
Sit down, sir.
He's taking notes and writing down the names of the people speaking, and I'm just curious why.
Okay, I'm going to ask everybody to please not comment right now. If you have anything that you want to talk about, take it outside. We are trying to conduct a meeting. Consent action. Can I have a motion? All in favor?
Yes.
Excellent. We have one regular action item, and that is on case parent recommendation. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve Mrs. Lindsay Klaukner for a new 3-year term as a parent representative on Parent Advisors for Special Education. Can I have a motion?
Support.
Excellent. Roger?
Yeah, a little background. So Lindsay has been on this and her term is up and she is running again. She has 2 children in our district, both elementary age. One qualifies for special ed. Grandville is able to have 3 PACE representatives. We currently have 2. So if there's anybody out there that might be interested, contact Angie Thornburg. And so, you know, anyway, we're recommending Lindsay for this renewal position.
Raj, so how long has Lindsay been doing this?
She has been on one term. I believe they are 3-year terms.
And then, because I used to be on PACE, how, do you happen to know how effective that group is, because it's sort of, you know, so over a while. I mean, is it a pretty effective group
I
from
think
the
it,
county perspective?
yeah, I think it is. There's representation from each district. I know our people, matter of fact, they're meeting tonight. Meet on a regular basis with Angie, and they touch base and discuss what's going on in the realm of special education, and talk about any concerns, challenges, celebrations, and that helps, I think, articulation of the bigger picture of what's happening across the county.
You know, it's not an easy position to do, because it takes a lot of time, especially someone who has special needs children. You know, your time is even more precious than the average parent. Not that any parent who's got active children aren't, their time isn't precious, but to take the time, you know, kudos to Lindsay, and thank her.
Is that a volunteer position? Or is that a
Yeah.
position?
Yeah, volunteer position.
Excellent. All in favor?
Yes.
All opposed? All right, that passes. We are on to our reports discussion, and we're doing the first reading of the fall 2021 board policy revisions.
Sure. So as you can see, I've given you a summary, and in your board packet, and this past weekend, you received these for the first time to review. You can see the bylaws, the policies that are here. They also tell you whether they're revised or replacements or new. I don't see any that are new at this time. There's just revisions based on the law and what has taken place over time. You can see the first one, they're talking about voting. Just want to point out with the voting, you know, they're going back to a time where you have to be in person to vote unless you're serving in the military. And then that would be something that would be worked out between the board and that board member.
There would seem to be a little bit of question on that, because it said, or other, there was like wording in there that, or otherwise. So
Permitted
can we just have
Permitted
it
by
clean?
law, yeah.
Yeah.
Just have it clean, just.
Sure.
You're here, you're not, right?
Right.
Well, it
Does that make
says,
sense?
Well, I
or
want the
for any other
definition.
purpose permitted by law. So
Yeah,
I guess
permitted.
my
Well,
question,
what are the ones that-
Yeah,
correct,
yeah.
that's where I was going.
I'll see if
So-
there are any other than military service.
Well,
And-
I'm trying to determine what in-person is. So I assume in-person would be obvious, or video based on our COVID situations, and the fact that we usually have a special exception when that does occur.
Yeah.
Correct?
If you read this summary and take a look at that, after December 31st, 2021, only the military duty exception remains. The board chair should only approve a request that complies with the law.
I understand that. So what I'm talking about is when board members are not physically present and they dial in, is that vote considered acceptable?
I will take a look from here forward and
Because I
see if
think
that
that's
is,
the number one question we
Yeah.
all have.
That was actually a question I had too.
you know,
Because present, you're here, you're
Mhm.
discussing, you're on the
Right.
phone, other than.
Right.
Yeah,
check into it.
thank you.
You bet. Any questions about any of these summaries or any of the policies? Again, what I'm gonna ask you to do is, you know, I gave them to you on Friday, but take a good hard look at these. We have a couple weeks. And then, you know, listen to any things you want me to check out, any revisions, anything there that you want me to look at. And we'll take a look and clarify. Come back.
The one on school-sponsored publications and productions, it's quite long and lengthy and.
It is
and I
very
know
long.
it Seemed to be where you were selecting that you would have ultimate decision-making. on
Yes.
that. Okay.
I would have, I'd have to grant permission for them to do it. And you'll notice there's 3 different
Yeah, what
groups
are-
in there. And they all talk about, there are, I think, an option 3, I believe, for each
Right.
group.
Right.
Is it related to like audio or
It's
poster?
a lot of, you know, technology changes fast.
Okay.
So it's a lot of the technological advances that they're addressing. And that's why it's important to have, I think, to have the superintendent there to grant approval
Yeah.
beforehand,
Mhm.
not just allowing kids or people that jump into that.
Okay, and then on the first page, Barb, it does state where he's got that highlighted and no, that's second sentence. The board expressly prohibits the use of social media related to student productions. So I think that's a big one.
It is.
Thinking of it, interesting, and I have to read it some more. I didn't read it, but it's a lot. of
It's a
language.
lot.
But I'm trying to understand too, because so many of our groups, our sports teams, like have social media accounts. right?
Yes.
How- You know, is that, you know, is regulate that too, or is that, you know, speak to those things? Because those are for the most part school.
If there's school social media accounts, they have to go through a process and an approval process. That's what that says.
So you would then do like a Grandville basketball, right? Account that goes through approval.
Yes.
Got it.
Is it true with like boosters? I
Yeah.
was trying to pick up on, okay.
Yep, we would still, I mean, if it's a private one, I mean, you know, if it's a private account, no, of course.
We have, I mean.
But if it's a school
Yeah.
associated account, yes.
Do we have like a tally of who all has accounts or? Not really. And it's okay, we want to do the other. Just trying to understand this stuff.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to with this
Mhm.
policy.
Seems like.
Yep.
Okay.
Definitely.
Roger, with the employment of professional staff, I understand that that's teachers, admins, and the dean, but is the reason that they took out the highly qualified language just because it's almost redundant? Or, I mean, all of that's taken out seems like a very specified way to say, oh, this is what makes you highly qualified.
Yeah, they wanted more clarity on who is qualified. I don't want to say highly qualified because they took that out.
Okay,
But who is qualified and what that looks like.
okay,
So
so
just
for
more detail to
specificity
that.
purposes, all
Yeah.
right.
Is that somehow determined by how they're paid or their contract with who's on here? Who's listed here?
It lists them to show that they go into that group, that those particular
Those three
people
only?
fall, no, not only,
Okay.
that those three also fall into those groups, so
Okay.
they're included,
They're
in other
included.
words.
Thank you.
You bet.
I also had a question about the last, for the policy 8330 with the student records.
Yes,
That did say that all students are registered, unless opted out, but at what age do they start getting those communications?
ooh. Yeah, I don't know. John, do you know that? For military contacts? Armed forces, junior, senior.
Okay. So they kind of set that up the same way, sorry, they set that up the same way they would set up like the college tables and all that other stuff informationally. Okay.
Is there any, if they're under 18, parental signatures required approval for them to?
Questions?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. they require them to go out. I'm not sure that.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you
Sounds
again
good.
for the
Lots to read over.
Readout there.
Yes,
That is very
there is a
helpful.
lot in it. There aren't many policies, but
That was
they're
kept
pretty,
going on.
pretty beefed up.
I don't know, I think it's second to our budget stuff. So.
All right. The next regular meeting will be Monday, October 18th, here at the admin building at 7 PM. And we are adjourned.
It's